I let my wife's mother explain the seating to the room. So Diane, my mother-in-law, has always treated my wife like her project, not her daughter, her project. Every decision Rachel made growing up went through Diane first, and Rachel just learned to nod along. When we got engaged, Diane cried, and I thought it was happy crying. Rachel told me later it wasn't. We paid for most of the wedding ourselves. Both sets of parents chipped in a little, and the rest came out of our savings. So when Diane started calling herself the host, I let it slide. It wasn't worth the fight. My mistake was letting that logic run for 8 straight months. About 6 weeks before the wedding, Diane took over the seating chart. Just took it. She showed up to our apartment on a Tuesday night with a giant poster board and a box of sticky notes and said, "I've already started, so don't worry about it." Rachel looked at me like she was apologizing in advance. I looked at the board. My whole side of the family, my parents, my 2 brothers, my grandmother who flew in from out of state, was at tables 9, 10, and 11, the back of the room, by the kitchen doors. Diane's friends, people I'd met maybe twice, were up front by the head table. I said, "Why is my grandmother by the kitchen?" Diane said acoustics are better back there, and the older guests like being near the exit. My grandmother is 79 and uses a walker. Near the exit meant she'd be the last person anyone noticed all night. I told Diane I wanted my family moved up. She smiled and said, "Let's not micromanage. I've done 100 of these." She hasn't. She's been to weddings. Rachel and I talked about it that night. She was exhausted. She said, "Can we just let her have this one thing? She'll be impossible otherwise." And honestly, I was tired too. So I said fine, but I said one thing back, and I said it clearly. "But if anyone asks me about it that night, I'm sending them to your mom. It's her chart. She can explain it." Rachel said, "Nobody's gonna ask. People ask." The reception started around 6 p.m. My brother found me during cocktail hour holding his seating card. He said, "Dude, we're at table 11. Grandma's at 11 too. Is that a mistake?" I said, "Talk to Diane. She made the chart." He walked off looking confused. Then my dad, "Son, your mother's back by the servers. Did the venue mess something up?" I said, "No, that's the chart Diane made. She's right over there." My dad's a polite guy. He went and asked her quietly. I watched Diane wave him off with a laugh. By the time we sat down for dinner, my grandmother had been bumped twice by waiters carrying trays. She didn't complain. She never does. That's the part that got me. Diane gave a toast, of course she did. She stood up, tapped her glass around 8 p.m., and did the whole thing about our family growing and opening our arms. And when she sat down, my aunt, my dad's sister, 72 and sharp as a tack, stood up at table 10 and said loud enough for the whole room, "Diane, quick question. Since you did the seating, can you explain why the groom's entire family is behind the dessert station?" The room went quiet. Diane laughed and said, "Oh, that wasn't intentional. The planner must have..." My aunt said, "There's no planner. My nephew told us to ask you." Everyone looked at Diane. Then everyone looked at me. And this was the moment. Rachel put her hand on my knee under the table, and I knew what she wanted. Jump in, smooth it over, call it a mix-up, take the hit so her mom didn't have to. I didn't. I picked up my water, took a sip, and said, "She's right, Diane. You made the chart. Go ahead and explain it." Diane's face did something I'd never seen it do. She opened her mouth twice, and nothing came out. Finally, she said, "I just thought the acoustics back there." My grandmother from all the way in the back by the kitchen doors called out, "The what, dear? I can't hear a word you're saying from back here."